Hi, my name is James Kimber. I'm a physician assistant and founder of PA Mentor Online, bringing you the best tips and tools you'll need to get into a PA program. On this channel, we do strategy videos for pre-PA students who are thinking about becoming a PA or currently in the application process, as well as interviews with students who used our services and successfully got into a PA program. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. You don't want to miss out on any of the interviews, as it might be one of the programs that you're thinking about applying to. Or if you have specific questions about one of the interviews we've done or just questions in general, don't forget to leave them down below in the comment section. Thank you.
Welcome to Physician Assistant Mentor Online.
Welcome back. I just got my new shirt in the mail today from the Mary Baldwin University Physician Assistant Program. Today we're interviewing Natasha. I met Natasha at a pre-PA club at San Diego State University, and then later she came and worked in the clinic where I was working at, shadowed me for a bit. We worked on her personal statement as well as her mock interview, but I'll go ahead and let Natasha tell the rest of her story. This was her first time applying, by the way. So welcome back. Today we have another interview, and if you want to go ahead and tell us your name and what PA program you just graduated from.
Okay, my name is Natasha Hermes. I just graduated from Mary Baldwin University's PA program.
Congratulations. When did you graduate?
I officially graduate May 16th.
Okay.
But they kind of, after we finished rotations and our OSCEs and stuff, they were kind of like, all right, go be free.
Okay, so, wow. So when do you plan on taking the pants?
I'm taking it June 3rd.
Great. And you're already interviewing for jobs?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Just had an interview this morning. So,
Good.
yep.
Okay, so usually start off and ask you, how did you decide to go into medicine?
So medicine in general, I've always kind of been around medicine growing up. I had an uncle who was sick. I had a grandma who was sick. So my mom was in charge of going and helping my uncle and my grandma, taking them to appointments. And of course, I'd be going with her and stuff. So I kind of got introduced to the whole medical world at a really young age. And since then, I was really interested in the human body. I know it sounds generic, but
Right.
Your interest does start there, and then it starts to grow as the more you become exposed to that type of field. So,
Where did you attend undergrad?
I went to school at San Diego State University.
And did you find you were able to get all of your prerequisites done
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So even going in there at first, like I was a psychology major. And at first, I wanted to get my PhD in neuropsychology. So the first 2 years, it was mostly psychology classes based. And then that's when I discovered PA, and I found out the list of prerequisites that I had to do. So my goal was still to finish college in 4 years. So I had 2 years left to finish and meet all the prereqs. So even with that limited time, I was still able to meet the prereqs and get all those classes done.
So you just mentioned that's when you first learned about PA. Tell us a little bit more about that, because everybody has some story of how they first learned about the career.
Yeah, so like I said, I was interested in getting my PhD in neuropsychology, so I did a year of research, and I found out I do not like this at all. Like doing research is cool. I admire people who do it, but I love interacting with people more. So that's when I started deciding, well, I love the medical field. Like I wanted to do research in the medical field and stuff, but why not work in the medical field instead? So I was playing with the idea of going to medical school, and then one day my cousin told me about physician assistants. So I was like, oh, what is that? So did some more research, joined the club on campus, shadowed a couple PAs, and then after that, I fell in love with the profession, and here we are today.
Good. What about your courses, primarily the science courses? Did you have any particular problems with any of those?
Um, For some reason, I'm the weird one. I loved my chemistry courses. They just made sense to me.
Hmm.
My biology courses, on the other hand, they kind of gave me some issues just with the whole memorization, trying to figure the information out and stuff like that. So I found that biology was more memorization, which was giving me like a hard time getting through the material and trying to memorize the different names of plants and animals and many organisms and stuff. Whereas chemistry, um, it was all concepts. So that kind of made more sense to me.
Well, I don't know about weird one, but definitely a lucky one. Did you take the GRE for your application?
I did take the GRE.
And how did you prepare for that?
So I got lucky and I went to a conference and won free GRE classes.
Mm.
So off of a raffle. So that's how I studied off of the GRE. But if I hadn't had done that, I definitely would have bought in a class and the GRE book to prep for
Hmm.
the exam.
What do you think were your strengths when you applied to PA school?
Ooh, that's a good one. Um, hmm. I guess my strengths were I had a pretty solid GPA. I think I was like a 3.8
Hmm.
GPA. Um, and I had 1,000 hours of experience, which doesn't seem like a lot, but um, keeping up a high GPA, being a part of two clubs on campus,
Right.
as well as working two jobs. 1,000 hours seemed like a lot to me, at least. And then on top of that, being able to balance my work life and personal life with my school life. Um, I mentioned that during my interview, and they seemed very impressed with that. So think that was one of my strengths as well.
We try to emphasize that to other applicants that we're working with, especially ones that are either still in college or coming right out of it. Although, as you said, 1,000 hours may not seem like a lot, but in the grander context, certainly you're attending school, working, it is a lot. It
Mm-hmm.
is quite a bit for somebody who's just still in college or just coming out. So we understand that.
Yeah.
Was this your first time applying?
Yes, it was my first time applying.
Very good. Very good. So what did you do to gain your healthcare experience hours?
I worked as a medical assistant at a neurosurgery clinic up in Escondido, and that's where I worked for 2 years to gain those hours. On top of that, I was a part of a club on campus called Flying Samaritans. Um, so they would go down to Mexico once a month and volunteer at a free clinic down there. And for the first part of my time with the clinic, I was just volunteering, showing the patients around and stuff, rooming them. And then I got my CNA license. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to work as a CNA, but once I got my CNA license, I became more hands-on with the clinic and stuff. So I was able to count those hours as well.
Good. What about shadowing? And I don't remember if you shadowed me or not. I don't.
I shadowed you and Dr. Stern in one case.
Okay.
Yeah, it was that one time. It was my first time in the OR and stuff. So it
Hmm.
was cool to see how the PA or like a PA role in the surgical setting was,
Yes.
because I hadn't seen that yet. So yeah, it was that one time that I shadowed you.
But
Uh,
other PAs, were you able to find other PAs to shadow?
my cousin works with or she used to work with a cardiologist, and he has an NP and a PA as well. So I
Mhm.
was able to see both aspects, how their role is in the medical world and stuff. So that was cool. And then along with the Flying Samaritans, um, if you were volunteering and you didn't have that medical background to do triage and stuff, you were also shadowing. So they kind of gave you the best of both worlds to help out and to also get some shadowing experience.
Okay.
Mhm.
How many programs did you apply to?
Um, I think 14 programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many did you receive interview invitations from?
Um, I want to say 9 or 10.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And then obviously you were accepted by Mary Baldwin, but were you waitlisted or accepted at other programs as well?
So the interesting thing about Mary Baldwin is their start date is in January.
Mhm.
So they were really quick to get back to me after I sent in my application, and they were my first interview and my first acceptance. Um, and I had gone and interviewed at two other places besides Mary Baldwin, and out of the three, I really liked Mary Baldwin.
Mhm.
So I was like, I really like it. The people there are great, and I got accepted, so might as well go there. So the other two programs I interviewed at, I got waitlisted there, got into the program for one of them, but it was already too late. Um,
Mhm.
it was like 2 weeks before I was supposed to fly out to Virginia.
Okay.
Mhm.
Tell us about CASPA. As you know, the cycle just reopened recently and everybody's scrambling to get all their data entered. How was your CASPA experience, or like how long did it take you?
Um, let's see. So yeah, they open up in the beginning of May, end of April, right?
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah, from what I remember. I think I submitted my application the end of June or beginning of July. Um, and so before the cycle had opened, I started writing my personal statement and stuff, just to get that ready. And then towards when I got closer to CASPA, I'm trying to remember, it was such a long time ago, it seems like. um, so towards then, that's when I started tallying up all my work experience, the
Mhm.
shadowing experiences. I made like an Excel sheet to keep everything organized and stuff. And then after I graduated college, that's when I started emailing everyone saying, hey, need the letters of rec.
Mhm.
So that's actually what took a little bit of time was the letters of recommendations. Otherwise, I would have submitted the application a little bit earlier. Um, so I definitely get on those letters of recs early
Yeah.
as possible.
That's common. We hear that from a lot of people who've been accepted. That's one bit of advice a lot of people recommend is stay on top of that.
Hmm.
So you said you finally submitted yours around end of June, early July.
Mm,
Okay, good.
yeah. I truly believe to this day that like one of the main reasons I got in as like compared with my GPA and stuff is because of my personal statement. Because I had you guys look over it as well.
Well, so
Um,
let's talk about that.
yeah,
So you submitted your first draft and then, we gave you the feedback. So a
yeah.
lot of people kind of like, oh my gosh, I just have to scrap this whole thing, or, they don't take it too well sometimes, the comments. But go ahead and tell us your experience.
So that's pretty much what happened. I had to, so I wrote the first draft, sent it to you, and I think I like revised it like one more time, sent it back to you, and then you gave me the advice to just restart it. So I was like, all right, I'm restarting my personal statement. So then my first draft was generic, talking about how
Hmm.
much I got into medicine, love medicine, all that stuff. And then my second draft, that's when I started talking about my time in Mexico and
Hmm.
helping those people out and how they impacted me and like wanting to work in an underprivileged community that don't have the resources and stuff. So and they did bring up my personal statement during my interviews and stuff, and they told me to elaborate more on my time in Mexico. So, yeah.
That's good.
Hmm.
But it's common. I mean, most of the statements that we read or are submitted to us, they just sound like everybody else's statement. So, once we can talk to people, then we kind of get their personal story, and then we can incorporate that in and fix their content, or at least, steer them in a different direction than sounding like everybody else.
Yeah.
Were there any mistakes that you felt you made while you were applying, like you took the wrong course or didn't have enough of something, or everything just worked out right for you?
Um, I do wish I took some more courses. That would have broadened my selection of schools and stuff. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I did choose a majority of the majority of the schools that I applied to were on the East Coast because I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go to the East Coast. Um, so that would have opened up some more schools to go. But otherwise, I was kind of happy with the application process and what I did. Everything like fell into place. So,
How was the makeup of your class? I mean, were most of the students say, from Virginia or that area, or was everybody from all over?
We had a good amount of people from all over. It was me and two other people from California, actually. Someone from Utah, and then I think a good majority, someone from Colorado, and then a good majority of the people were from the East Coast. We had some people, I would say like more than half from Virginia,
Hmm.
and the other half were just states from all over the East Coast.
So going back again, tell us about the mock interview. How was that process?
Uh, it was very helpful. 'Cause I remember I went over it with you. And especially that one question is like, why do you want to become a PA and stuff?
Yeah.
Again, I gave you like a generic answer, and then you were like, no, just tell your story. So
Yes.
after you told me that, like, that really took that in like advice and told them like my story about how I became interested in becoming a PA, and they seemed impressed with it, I think. But yeah, the mock interview was so helpful. It calmed my nerves down too. Like, you reassured me that it's just a conversation and they aren't there to scare you or anything. So
Okay, well, obviously you were selected, and tell us about the first year. So you're in your didactic phase.
mhm. Oof. That was those were dark days.
Yeah, but they're behind you now.
They
So
were very long behind me. So happy for that. But no, it was an eye opener. My first semester, especially, you're taking anatomy, you're taking physiology, microbiology. It was your first semester in history and physical exam. So yeah, I had to change my study habits. I can't even count how many times I like tried different ways of studying, flashcards, notes, writing down notes, printing out the PowerPoint. Um, After that first semester, though, we finally got through it. And then the second, third, and fourth, that's when we realized, okay, this is how we need to study for this exam, or we need to study for this class and stuff. So once you find out like what study habits are good for you and work for you, that's when you start to succeed better in PA school, I think.
sure. How about forming up study groups?
Yeah, forming up study groups. Me and my friends, we would go down to the school or go to the library. We'd study on our own first, just to get the material like into our brains as much as we could, and then we'd get together and just start talking the information out,
Yeah.
clarifying ideas and stuff. And then for us, what was funny is the day of the exam, we would wake up and meet up at 6 a.m. every single exam day and just start spewing out information.
Mhm.
This is mechanism of action. This is what the drug does. Like, this is the side effects. And
Receptor sites and
yeah, just spewing out information. And there have been so many times where I was like, oh, I know this answer because I just heard it like an hour ago. So
yeah, I remember those days.
mhm.
Well, it's all right. You'll get the same when you take your pants. So
Mhm. Yeah.
now, how about your clinical rotations?
Oh, they were great. I was so lucky with my clinical rotations. I had the best preceptors. Um, the clinical sites were great. They were all just so patient with you. They took the time to teach you. If you had any questions, they were very open to answering them and explaining stuff. My preceptor for internal medicine, like if it was like we had already done rounds, seen all the patients and stuff, and if it was quiet, he'd like pull out a whiteboard and start drawing out like mechanisms of actions for drugs and stuff like that. So um, they were all great. I was so happy with my preceptors.
Good. So overall, how do you feel about the program that you attended, Mary Baldwin?
It's a hard program. I mean, any PA program is going to be hard. And there are times where, like just mad at the program, but really it's not the program. It's just you're stressed.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Yes.
under a lot of pressure. Like you feel like the program is against you. But at the end of the day, it's like the program prepares you so well, from didactic to going to clinicals and then clinicals to the real world. So, like, yeah, I mean, the program has prepared me well, I think, in my opinion. Yeah.
Good. Would you recommend it to others?
I would, yeah. The only thing is, so coming from San Diego, the area that the school is at is a very rural area. There's not a lot going on. It's farms everywhere. So that was a culture shock for me. So I would recommend the program. Just be prepared that there's not a lot going on around there.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I loved it. It started to grow on me after a couple of months. I was like, it's so quiet, it's green, it's nice. So.
So this is the part that a lot of people are really waiting for is what advice do you have for those who are thinking about becoming a PA or are currently in the application process right now?
Okay. My advice, if you're thinking about becoming a PA, is definitely do your research on the profession, the job market, especially now with COVID-19 and stuff. Job market has changed a little bit since when I applied, but just definitely do your research about that. Shadow as many PAs as you can. Also shadow NPs and doctors so you can see the difference um, between each profession and how the autonomy is different for an NP and a PA. And get as much work experience as you can, just so it isn't the like knowledge that you'll gain, it's the interacting with patients, the good bedside manner that you develop over time is so important to patients. Patients could care less if you're smart, like the smartest person in the world. If you're compassionate, if you're nice, if you're sitting down there talking to them and explaining stuff to them, they appreciate it so much more. So I would definitely recommend like getting as much work experience as you can in the medical field and just be talking to people. And as far as the application process, definitely start early, get all your information, get all your documents ready. So once the application opens up, you just start inputting everything because that process in itself is so long and tedious. I used an Excel sheet to count all my hours, to organize my experience or shadowing experiences, work experiences and stuff, as well as like my letters of rec and their contact information. And the personal statement, just have someone else read it, like have a mentor, for example, read it, have a professor read it, have a PA read it, just have other people read it so you can get like a different perspective from each person, to see how you can improve that personal statement because it can really make or break your application.
Yes, it does. I mean, same we tell them. And when you're writing it, I know it always sounds good to you. But then when somebody who doesn't know you reads it, especially somebody who's reading hundreds of these, we can pick out what's good and what's not and make sure it doesn't sound like everybody else's. Okay, well, thanks again for doing this. And well, I guess probably next time I'll hear from you is after you pass your pants. And then if you ever need any help with your interviews, of course, let us know. But good luck to you. I know you're going to do well.
Thank you.
Thanks,
You for
Natasha.
as well.
You're welcome.